Solar storm. That's right, folks. The solar storm is here and it is bigger than expected. We're going to take a look at that and exactly what that means. Plus, the GFS remains resolute in bringing a major hurricane into the southeast. But do other models agree? Well, we'll take a look at that too. And we'll have a severe weather threat out there for this afternoon, but a more widespread event potentially returns tomorrow and Tuesday. So we've got a lot to get into. Plus, Canada is on fire, and that's affecting our weather here in the States. So we're going to get into all of this, folks, today in today's brief weather show. It's a rapid fire show, and we're going to get into it right now. We're going to start with space weather. We usually end our show with space and geological updates, but we're going to do that today because that is something that is affecting us right now. We are in the midst of a solar storm. On yesterday's show, I told you that the sun had emitted an M-class solar flare, high impact solar flare, almost an X-class flare, which is the highest ranking you can get. Big coronal mass ejection came out of that, pointed directly at Earth, and it has arrived with a speed of 1,000 kilometers per second. That's pretty fast. The density, fortunately, is low, but it has set off geomagnetic conditions, and we are under a severe or level 4 out of 5 geomagnetic storm alert. The latest observed conditions are G3, but predicted for the next couple of days are G4. That's going to send auroras south. And there are certainly effects that can happen when you have a rare event like this. It's not quite a 5. We had a 5 last year, and that disrupted some various electronic components and infrastructure and things like that, and sent aurora viewing way down to the south. That's not quite the case this time, but this is a pretty rare event, and we're going to talk about it right now. Fortunately, the sun is pretty quiet. You can see the view here. There's our sunspot, 4100, that big complex that shot that solar flare off and where the CME came out of. Fortunately, everything else is pretty quiet. It's center disk today, but it's turning away, and a little cluster of sunspots coming in too, but they appear to be not all that big and not magnetically complex. So hopefully we won't have to worry about any more activity while this is going on. A coronal hole, it doesn't really show up great on this view. Actually, we can turn it to this. There you can see it better. And that's going to emit solar wind out of this, and density of that solar wind can also create geomagnetic conditions here on Earth. So we'll watch that, but that might be a little bit too far south on the sun to really hit us too bad. But here is what we're looking at. Big proton storm going on, and solar X-ray flux spike, but it's slowly kind of ramped down. But here's the geomagnetic activity. You can see this got up to an 8. Now it's at a 7, but anything like 8 to 9 is a G4 storm. 9 and over is a G5 storm. So we're not quite at G5, but still we're seeing impacts, folks. And fortunately, the density has been, you can see it here. This is a sort of a scatter plot, but you can see the density has been low. That helps to mitigate some of the effects that otherwise could be more severe. In any event, that's what's happened so far. But over the next couple of days, we're going to see that wind stream continue to strike the Earth's magnetic field. We've got a weakening magnetic field due to an ongoing pole shift. And so the effects of these storms could be a little bit more magnified under those conditions. So electronics could fail at times. Some infrastructure could, if electrical infrastructure could be disrupted for a time. A lot of that can be mitigated with advanced notice. And fortunately, we have these warnings now. Still high latitude flights, more solar radiation could hamper those. So, there could be some delays with flights, north and south at the higher latitudes, and also GPS could be disrupted. So that's the effect of some of these things. Plus the aurora. Look at this. Yesterday I said on the show, we're probably going to see a higher aurora forecast than what we saw yesterday, and also that when yesterday's G1 alert was issued, I had speculated that we might see something higher than that, and we certainly are with G4 now. But look at this, big time chance of aurora today and tomorrow. Pushes the view line pretty far south into the northern United States. So if you're above, say from southern New Hampshire all the way into southern Iowa, Nebraska, over to halfway through Oregon. If you guys see any of that stuff, let me know and put it in the comments section. I'd love to see if you see the northern lights, but I'll keep you posted on that. Volcanic activity, no response yet. Sometimes we see a link between increased solar activity and geological events like volcanoes and earthquakes, but nothing in the areas that we're watching. and no real earthquake activity. The last big one was, I think, on the 20th or 22nd over in Greece, but nothing since then. But we'll keep watching it because that's what we do here at Cold Rain's Weather World. We watch all the weather, and that's why you're subscribed. Hey, and if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and give us a like if you like the content. We'll keep you updated on all this stuff every single day. This is what I do. In the meantime, the GFS continues to want to bring a very, very strong hurricane into the Gulf and just run it up. See if you watch this, runs it right in to the Mobile, Alabama area down here in the middle central Gulf, and just sends it on up into central Tennessee. Now, question is, it's been doing this every single day for the last several days. Is this even remotely right? And the answer can be found in the validation from other models. For example, the European model. What does it show? Well, look, it's got a few showers in the Gulf, some thunderstorms up here in the Central Plains, but no activity whatsoever in the tropical region. So makes me think the GFS is out to lunch, but let's check its own ensemble suite out. Look at this, GFS ensembles. Big ridge over the central part of the country when we're looking out. This is way out, by the way. We're talking about, 12 days, 14, 15 days out. We're not quite at 15 days, but we're in the 10 to, it oscillates basically in the 9 to 13 day range. It's been showing this, but nothing here in the Gulf. So not even its own ensembles agree with it. So we need to get the programmers onto the GFS and have them chop off basically the last 5 days of the model, because it's really worthless, it seems like. And, if we take a look at the National Hurricane Center, we can see what they're saying. Well, they see nothing going on over the next several days in the Atlantic. The only activity really is in the Eastern Pacific. We had Tropical Storm Alvin yesterday. That has rapidly degraded into a depression and moved on into the Baja of California. And now we have a 40% chance of another cyclone developing out here in the next 7 days. So that's all that's going on in the tropics. So when you see these big posts on social media, folks, don't spend too much time worrying all about that. Come to Cold Rain's Weather World and I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Best I can. Weather changes all the time, but we'll give you the straight analysis here and not hype up anything too badly. So anyway, checking a look at the severe weather threat for the next couple of days. This afternoon, we're looking at here about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we start to see thunderstorm fuel. This is our instability cape, convective available potential energy. Thunderstorms, if they form, will use this and turn it into kinetic energy and give you wind, heavy rain, lightning, thunder, tornadoes sometimes, and hail. So look at this. We got a little cluster of pretty strong instability here over central Texas. And this area down in here is where we're going to see the greatest risk of severe weather today. But up through Colorado, we could see, and then over through Tennessee into North Carolina, a little disturbance moving in there. Even up here in Idaho, western Montana, down in Florida, we could see a few isolated severe weather events today too. But if we put this on into motion through the course of the afternoon and the evening and the overnight hours, we'll see that instability kind of remain in place. And so we could see a thunderstorm complex kind of exist through the nighttime hours, at least the first part of the evening before things kind of dissipate. And then we get on into tomorrow, we've got instability building really well. Nice. There's going to be a couple of disturbances moving in. Southerly flow is going to bring in moisture out of the Gulf of Cold Rain. It's going to pull that moisture all the way up into the plains. And we're going to see a return to severe weather out here kind of in a broad area as we go on into Monday evening. Look at this, big time instability building out here. Some of the thunderstorms that are going to form actually behind the best axis of instability and kind of move into it depending on where you are in that thunderstorm region. And that's what's going on through Monday. Okay, so that's kind of our instability setup. Looking aloft, so we're looking at about 20,000 feet up in the atmosphere at the energy that's actually needed to create thunderstorm activity. We've got a couple of areas here to draw your attention to. Okay, so we've got this big upper low that's been plaguing the Northeast with plenty of rain up here, and the flow around this, and within the flow, there are little pockets of energy. You see one there. Here's another disturbance kind of coming in through here in Kentucky. And then this big kink in the flow with this disturbance coming through Kansas, another little area coming back through Nebraska. And then look at this, big upper low about to move into the desert Southwest, and then a trough out here in the Northwest moving in. So that's a pretty complex flow. And as we watch this go out in time, we'll watch these pieces of energy. See, this little one continues to move south here in the plains. Another another little spoke diving in through Tennessee Valley into the Carolinas. This is going to spark showers this afternoon. So all of these little pieces of energy, here's another one that we were looking at. It's moving down through Colorado. It's going to spark showers and thunderstorms there. And then energy coming into the Pacific Northwest. We'll see some activity with that as well. So all of this works over the next couple of days to really start to ramp up the severe weather threat as we get on in to Monday. See, now here we are Monday evening, and we've got this big trough kind of impinging on the plains. This is cooling temperatures aloft. It's also bringing in wind shear. Here's that low pressure that has moved out of the desert Southwest, or actually out of the Baja of California into the desert Southwest. And all of these things are kind of working together to create lift, cooling aloft, working on that instability. So we're going to see in the Central Plains area over the next couple of days in this region, we're going to start to see showers and thunderstorms develop, and potentially quite a bit of severe weather reports are going to come out of this over the next couple of days. And to that end, the Storm Prediction Center has outlined their severe weather risk. This afternoon, the primary risk here is down close to Amarillo, just north of San Antonio over to Waco. And so we're seeing just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's the highest risk. We could see large hail being the primary threat, hail greater than 2 inches. As a matter of fact, if we take a look at that, you see it's hatched. So we could see some very large hail down here. Wind and tornado is kind of a possibility, but not all that great of a possibility. Wind's the higher threat. And then these other pockets of isolated severe weather back here toward the Bitterroots, Front Range of the Rockies down, just near Denver down to Pueblo and toward, northern New Mexico. Big area of isolated or marginal risk surrounds the slight risk down here in east central Texas. And then that disturbance coming in around the big low, the big gyre up in the northeast, that's going to bring showers into Tennessee, Nashville, Bristol, Chattanooga, into Asheville, potentially Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, all the way to Wilmington. We could see showers and an isolated severe weather threat here with wind and hail. If any of those storms can organize, it could increase the wind threat for a time. And then down here toward Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Fort Myers, we're seeing a potential for some severe weather down in Florida too. But again, isolated basis. We typically see thunderstorms in Florida through the spring and summer months. And so that's no stranger to that down here. But just keep an eye to the sky if you've got outdoor plans, beach plans, laying on the beach. Just watch out down there. Tomorrow, more of a widespread kind of area up here, New Mexico. New Mexico, wouldn't that be funny? Minneapolis, all the way through the panhandle of Texas, Cheyenne, down here toward Amarillo. And so we're looking at a large area of real estate potentially for severe weather tomorrow. This could actually be expanded. We'll just have to see the modes of severe weather and how things kind of form through the night and get engaged in the morning. Big area of marginal risk around that. For not really much in the tornado threat, but certainly wind and hail are a possibility. We go on out into Monday. That threat shifts east from Madison, Wisconsin, all the way down here to Wichita Falls, Texas, including Oklahoma City, Kansas City, and so on and so on. So that's what we're looking at. Marginal risk surrounds that. So as we get on out in time, right now, the SPC doesn't have anything further highlighted, but I suppose we're probably going to see some slight risk as we move through the next couple of days, probably expand east, because it's those troughs out west moving in. They're going to be slow to do so, and so they're not going to just dissipate and die, and we'll continue to see instability. So that's what's going on with the severe weather threat. I'll go over that again in more detail tomorrow in a full episode of Cold Rain's Weather World, but in the meantime, we've got Canadian wildfires to deal with, and check this out. We'll get down here and look at this whole image. This is our satellite picture with lightning display on it, and you can see a cluster of storms here in Oklahoma. Now, if these die out later today, this morning, it'll continue to maintain more of a pristine environment down in Texas, and we could see a little bit greater of a severe threat. But if this maintains all the way down here, it'll disturb the atmosphere, maybe lessen that threat a bit. But look at this, folks. Way up here in northern Canada, that low pressure, that nor'easter, that kind of rare nor'easter for the end of May has moved on out. Energy around that is going to bring clouds and showers, occasionally spotty showers up in New England. But look at this big area of thin, wispy looking clouds. This is smoke, folks. This is coming out of Canada from all these wildfires. And we've seen numerous air quality alerts up in this area in the northern Great Lakes and the northern Midwest. And that smoke is continuing to funnel all the way in here into the southeast as far as the panhandle of Florida. We need to put a tariff on this smoke if they're going to deliver it to us, folks. We've got to tariff everything else. Let's tariff that smoke. But look at that. And we've got Saharan dust coming out of Africa all the way across the Atlantic and coming in this way. So it's sort of a two-pronged air quality attack. But really, if you're sensitive to it, I was driving around the mountains of North Carolina. I'm in Morganton, NC, and I saw all kinds of haze in the atmosphere. Of course, it's coming from the Canadian wildfires. So if you're sensitive to that, try to stay indoors and pay attention to what's going on there. But on the satellite image, here's some cloud cover out in the southwest associated with that disturbance I showed you before. More clouds working into the Pacific Northwest, clouds here in the center with those thunderstorms and showers. And you'll continue to be socked in with clouds for most of the day up here in the northeast. Now, looking at the Canadian wildfires, there they are right in the center of Canada. These things are just burning, 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 and the weather patterns are such that it's going to just funnel that smoke into the northern and eastern, even southern United States for a period of time until we start to get some southerly flow to blow it back up where it belongs. Hopefully they can get that stuff under control and put out, but it's a bad situation up there for real. Looking at the radar, there it is. Rain up here in Maine, most of central and southern Maine getting in on some of that rain. Bangor, you're seeing rain here moving up into Caribou and Fort Kent, places like that. New York, you're seeing a few showers coming in. That's expected through the afternoon. There's that cluster of thunderstorms in Oklahoma and Arkansas. A few showers working into the southwest. Rare flood watch up here. I'll show you that actually. Let's go and take a look at that right now. Looking at this afternoon, there's our surface map. You can see the boundary that's kind of existing, sliding south through Tennessee into North Carolina. That's going to act as a focus for those thunderstorms. Boundary this afternoon working into Texas, going to act as a focus for thunderstorms here, all the way up through Colorado. That's, where these boundaries are, that's where you get convergence at the surface. And if you have cooling aloft and wind shear aloft and instability to work with, boom, you got thunderstorms, folks. You even see a little snow up here in some of the Rocky Mountains, in the northern Rocky Mountains, and even into Colorado as well. So general thunderstorm activity, it's not going to be a washout. We're just looking at widely scattered thunderstorms for most areas, except for maybe here in Oklahoma and Texas, and then up again in the northeast, a little bit more concentrated shower activity up there today. Here's your air quality alerts up here. All of Minnesota under air quality alerts. Severe thunderstorm watch in Oklahoma this morning, and a rare flood watch out here in southern Arizona. Still seeing some heat over the next day or so here in California and Nevada. Temperatures can get to the upper 90s, around 100 out here, but that's going to cool off as that trough works in, and that's your alert map. Now, if we take a look here at the next couple of days at our upper air pattern, this will drive what we see at the surface. Big trough right now in the east, big ridge kind of out west, extending way up into Canada. And there you go. That's what it looks like. Cool temperatures generally under the blue colors. The deeper the blue, usually the cooler it is, and the opposite is true here with the orange and red. But you can see things are going to change pretty quickly here. Now watch what happens. This is this morning as we go on out into Monday, midday Monday. Look at this. Ridge is moving east, warming us up as we get closer and closer to midweek. We're going to start to warm up more and more on the East Coast. That trough is pulling out. New trough coming in the west. When a new trough comes in the west, folks, what does that mean? Big trough here. Look at this. That means severe weather here, okay, in the spring and summer months. So not all the way up into Canada. That's bad drawing on my part. But anyway, you get the point. Lift, wind shear, cooling aloft, instability at the surface, southwesterly flow coming out of the Gulf. We're going to see that severe weather threat return, which is why we saw the SPC outline that area for a risk. And as we go on out in time, that trough continues to persist through midweek. Out here, temperatures are going to cool off in the west, certainly warming up as we go in through the middle part and into the week in the east. And then over time, that trough becomes a little bit more broad troughing, more tranquil weather, and broad troughing usually on a widespread basis anyway, and then cooler temperatures at least back to normal. So that's what we're looking at as we push on toward next weekend. Your surface map over the next 24 to 72 hours kind of looks like this. This afternoon, there's some thunderstorms breaking out with that upper level disturbance in the Tennessee Valley over into North Carolina. Showers up in the northeast pulling out, widely scattered showers out in the Intermountain West and the Rockies. And then we get on out into, and by the way, Cluster of thunderstorms this afternoon coming down into Texas. We get on out into Monday. So overnight hours tonight, we're going to see showers build out here in the Rockies and move on out into the plains. Nothing much going on except for some showers in the northeast, and showers and thunderstorms over central and southern Florida. And as we get on out into Monday afternoon, you can see those things kind of build into Monday evening. And there's our cluster of storms back in the northern plains. So we're going to see showers from Minnesota all the way down into Colorado, Texas. We're going to look for thunderstorms to form down here and move east as we go through time. Florida, you'll still be dealing with some thunderstorms in southern Florida. Then we get on out into Tuesday afternoon. Those thunderstorms persist and move on east into the Midwest, all the way down into central Texas. As we get through Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening, those will continue through the night with just more showers in Florida, thunderstorms down there, and some spotty showers and storms in the Four Corners region up into Colorado, near the Colorado Plateau and all those places. So that's what it looks like from the weather standpoint. Taking a look at the temperatures over the next couple of days, they've changed the color format on me. Yellows are 80s, reds are 90s, and we start to get into deep reds, we get into 100s. But look at all these blues, 49, 51, 50s, 60s up in the northeast, transitioning to the 70s for a large portion of the Midwest and Ohio Valley, upper southeast. It's going to be a spectacular day here in these areas where it's not raining. 80s down into Florida, 80s surging up in the Central Plains, 90s in Texas, a few more 90s and 100s out here in the Mojave Desert, Death Valley, places like that, San Joaquin Valley, but troughs moving in, and we're going to see cooling off up here in the Pacific Northwest. So we go through your day on Monday. All of that, everything I just showed you shifts east. So cooler weather up here in the northern plains and the Rockies. Look at this, 30s even in some of these areas out here. Starting to cool off a little bit out here in the desert southwest. Big trough moving in. Surging southerly winds ahead of that, bringing 90s and 80s all the way up to the Canadian border, 80s in the southeast, but still pleasant across much of the Ohio Valley into the lower mid-Atlantic, and cool up in the northeast. And then as we get on into Tuesday, it really starts to warm up in the northeast, 80s pretty much everywhere. South and east of a line from the UP of Michigan down to the panhandle of Texas. Big trough working into the west, bringing below normal temperatures there, and starting to see normal to above normal temperatures work into the Mississippi Valley and to the southeast, where it had been below normal, at least up in the northern parts of that. You guys are running below normal the next couple of days. That's going to change as we go through the week. That's your forecast, folks. Hope it's been informative for you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. As I said, I put these videos out every day. Sometimes on the weekends I won't do one, but usually Monday through Friday I do. And so I'll keep you informed of that solar storm, the hurricane threat, if you can call it a threat, and we'll watch the severe weather. And we'll be back tomorrow with a full episode of Cold Rain's Weather World. We'll do our IQ question and have a couple of other fun segments. We have fun, folks, so stick around and we'll continue to have more fun, and we'll keep you informed right here, right now, because we've got all the weather at Cold Rain Weather. Take care, folks. Have a great Sunday and a happy first day of meteorological summer, June the 1st. Take it easy.